That way we don't have to worry too much about it. All right, great. So hi everyone, Tyler Roberts here from Nomos Marketing. Hope that you guys are doing well today. I'm joined here with Nefra-Ann MacDonald. She is the Affinity Program Manager at Clio. And I've known Nefra for about a year now. We've met at a couple of conferences, and I've just really enjoyed learning from her and getting her perspective on the legal industry. And so I wanted to invite her to speak with us today about what she does at Clio, some of the things that she's been seeing in the legal industry over the last few months. Since COVID-19 hit, and then also talk about the upcoming Clio Cloud Conference, which will be virtual this year. So, Nefra, I'd love for you to just tell our watchers, who you are and what you do for Clio.
All right. Yeah. So hi, everyone. Tyler, thanks for having me today. It's my pleasure to be here and to speak to your audience. I'm big fans of the Nomos marketing team. So my name is Nefra MacDonald. Like Tyler said, I am based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We are now one of the epicenters of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been a week. I've been experiencing some of those symptoms myself. So you guys, this face, this outfit is totally for you. Otherwise, I'd be in pajamas right now. I'm the Affinity Programs Manager at Clio.
Excellent. And I really appreciate you coming on here and talking with us. Like we were saying earlier, I traveled down to Florida and came back with symptoms as well. So I know how that is. And we're finally kind of coming up on the upswing of that. So
glad to hear that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that everyone who's watching this is healthy as well. So can you tell me just a little bit more about, what the Affinity program is and exactly what you do there?
Yep. So for those of you, if we backtrack a bit. So for those of you that don't know what Clio is, we are a provider of legal technology services, and we were founded in 2008 as the first ever cloud-based practice management software. So we have a flagship product known as Clio Manage, which does things like time and billing, document management, document storage, contact management, has a secure client portal, built-in payments. And then a couple of years ago, we acquired a company called Lexicata and have now made that Clio grow. So both products together, the Clio suite, and that'll cover everything from making your client intake process paperless all the way up until you send your last invoice. And as a part of the Affinity program, what I do is I work with 3 other people. We're on the 4 corners of North America. One of them is based in Toronto, another is in Vancouver, and another is in Los Angeles. And the 4 of us manage over 66 bar association and legal organization relationships. And as a part of that, we travel to conferences and manage our live events program as well. So any live event that you see coming out of Clio, whether that's a CLE webinar or our meetup series, which was in person but is now virtual, that's produced by this team. And that's how I met Tyler in April, is traveling the country at these conferences. And I miss that interaction. I miss meeting people. I miss meeting Clio users and potential Clio users and getting to do stuff like this, these kinds of conversations in person. But, I'd rather us be healthy and safe during this time. So, yeah, I definitely think it's something that's been interesting to shift from the in-person to now virtual. But I also think it's presented an amazing opportunity for us to reach so many more people than we would in a specific location. Even when people were in the same city, there are a lot of barriers to entry to some of these conferences, whether it's financial or time. And now that these are virtual, this is being recorded. So a lot of you might be watching this later. And now you have the opportunity to still get some of the content and insights that you would have in person on your own time. So that's the flip side to it, right?
Yeah, I think that's so well put. For us, it's been so nice to be able to hop from, one happy hour to the next. When COVID-19 first broke out, we were, in Atlanta for Atlanta Legal Tech, for an hour, and then we'd hop over to San Diego for a happy hour. So we were able to cover the entire United States in a matter of a couple hours and have conversations about, what people are doing. And it's honestly opened a lot of doors for a lot of attorneys that maybe were priced out of traveling to those events. Maybe never had the opportunity to connect with people like that, except through maybe a Facebook group. And so this has been, I wouldn't say it's been uh, fun, but it's definitely been as enjoyable as possible, in terms of how do we use technology to connect with one another. So
Yeah, it's about making the best of the situation. Like at Clio, we get a lot of training in VUCA and VUCA Prime. So for those of you that don't know what VUCA is, it's volatility, uncertainty. I don't know what the C is. Chaos. And uh, gosh, now I'm blanking on it. COVID brain. Um, but look up VUCA. VUCA Prime is basically being able to turn all of the things that are bringing about uncertainty and that chaos into opportunity. And I think like the biggest thing that I've taken out of that is agility and flexibility, and being able to see the problems and the pain points and the pitfalls of a situation and change itself, and turning that into a massive opportunity for yourself personally and in the context of legal for your business.
yeah, I think that's, again, very well put. A lot of attorneys are finally coming around to doing the things that they know they needed to do in the first place in terms of implementing new technology or productizing their services, finding new ways to reach clients. And so I wanted to ask you, with everything that's been going on with COVID-19, what have you seen in the legal industry in terms of lawyers dealing with all of these different challenges that they're presented with?
Yeah, I feel like it's been an evolution over the last 4 months or so. I think at first it was it was scary, and it was like a mix, right? As states started to shut down, there was a determination on a state by state basis as to which businesses were essential. And in some states, law offices and lawyers were essential, in other states, they weren't. So that created a lot of consumer confusion, but also different responses from the attorneys that were involved. Does that mean that you need to shut down your business? Or does that mean you need to shut down your brick and mortar business and continue to run your firm in a distributed way from home? And so there was that mix at first. And that self-isolation, the social distancing, the social measures that were taken to control the virus also meant that fewer clients were reaching out. The economic responses to that, as far as people being able to go out and work if their job is in a physical location, meant that a lot of people either were not working for a while and had to file for unemployment, or had to take pay cuts, were furloughed, a variety of things. So your normal client base, their economic situation was changing and has changed and may be impacted for a long time. So the economic impact was really huge, and we're still seeing how that's shaping out. And so at first, a lot of law firms are just trying to figure out, A, can I be open? B, how do I stay open? C, what are the things I need to have in place to be able to function as the firm and deliver the kinds of services that my clients expect, the level of service my clients expect, and what to do if the courts are closed, right? Mm-hmm. So getting access to your firm's information from home was a really big deal for law firms that were not already cloud-based or paperless. And now what we're seeing is that things are kind of evening out. Law firms are adapting. Potential clients or existing clients are bouncing back a bit. We do regular research through our COVID-19 impact research. So Clio is a producer of legal research findings every single year. It's called the Legal Trends Report. And the last big release that we did of this was at ClioCon in 2019. when all of this started, we wanted answers too. We wanted to figure out what was going on in the legal industry, because for us, Clio is not just practice management software. We see ourselves as industry leaders, and we want to make law firms more data driven, which is a big reason why we do this research. So we wanted to find out. We just started asking people, what do you want to know? What's happening out there? How are you feeling? How's your business doing? And we did it on the legal side, from lawyers and people working in law offices. And we also did it on the consumer side, just to see like what's happening. Like, do you have a situation right now where you could use a lawyer? If so, are you reaching out, or when do you see yourself reaching out? And that the results of that research have evolved over the last several months, but they're all published on Clio.com, and we have our COVID-19 impact research. The graphs are now interactive, so you can look at it depending on your state or on your practice area, and the graphs will change and give you the information that you need. But what's shaking out is that more and more law firms are adapting to technology. And I think it was 68% of law firms, I can actually look that up, 68% of law firms, say that technologies help their firms deliver a better client experience during the pandemic. So look at that opportunity, right?
Right.
Adapting to technology and making sure that your law firm can still function also led to better outcomes for your client. And that outcome for your client is a better interaction with your law firm. And I think being able to serve people during this time, being of service, is one of the best things that we can do to feel like, you know, we're making a difference and that things are kind of normal. So being able to do that is really important. And 58% of legal professionals said that their work-life balance has improved during the pandemic. And I think a lot of that has to do with embracing technology, maybe changing up some processes, people recognizing that we're all human and we have human needs, and not everyone is the same. Not everybody's going to be impacted by all of this in the same way. And I think it took just sort of like a leveling to get us to look at what we do as humans and our staff as humans, and allowing for some flexibility in how life unfolds. And I'm really excited for what's to come. We've already seen some of the results of this and people shifting their mindsets and their processes, but I'm really excited to see what else happens.
Yeah, I can agree more. And I think that this has really been a time of reflection for a lot of law firms. For those who are watching this, if you have not seen the Clio Trends report or gone on their website to use that interactive graphic that Nefra is talking about, I highly recommend it. Every time that I have opened up one of those reports, I've changed something about our own business in the way that we help our clients and work with law firms. Prior to starting Nomos Marketing, I was a journalist, and the Clio Trends report gave me ammunition for articles for a full year until the next one came out. And it's just so interesting how you can take a deep dive into that and start to turn that into some actionable insights, and things that you can actually do to improve your own law firm. And it kind of gives you that bird's eye view, because I think for a lot of us, we're so in the weeds on a day-to-day basis with our own business. And so with COVID-19, we're getting out of that routine. We're getting out of kind of our comfort zone, and we're having to take a hard look at like what is generating revenue, what's not generating revenue, what do clients actually value about my practice? How can I still deliver that value, even if it's remotely? And then, like you said, how to use technology to improve legal services. And I think, obviously calls have slowed down for some law firms, and that's to be expected. Fewer drivers on the road, probably fewer accidents, just like a small example. But that doesn't mean that lawyers aren't going to be as important moving forward, especially with a lot of the other issues that you may be encountering. And so, one of the things that that I've seen, we work with a ton of Clio users, and one thing that I've seen them do over the last few months is using the tools from Clio to make them more accessible. So using Clio Grow, in a more impactful way than they have in the past, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I've got this, ancillary product to Clio manage. I haven't really set it up. I don't really know what it's used for. We started integrating that on people's websites. We started, using Smith AI's free chatbot, because a lot of lawyers didn't have chat. It's
Yeah.
it's an easy free chatbot. And the great thing is there's a Clio integration with that as well. So there's a lot of things that are available to lawyers that I don't see used as prevalently as like I would hope they would be used, because a lot of them are affordable and some of them are even free.
We're on the same page there.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be one of the positive things that comes out of this is people are asking the right questions now, and they're identifying the right pain points, and then they're looking for solutions for it. And what's great about Clio, and one reason I'm such a champion for the software is, I think that it just has a lot of solutions that law firms need, and it helps people, do a better job of, at serving their own clients.
Yeah, and we're listening. That's the thing. We had a product roadmap for this year on things that we researched and documented, and pain points that we heard from customers, and we were set and ready to go. But as this pandemic hit, we had to pivot a bit, because we needed to prioritize the features and integrations that were going to help our clients succeed during this time. And our product team has been busting their butts day and night trying to push these features out to people. Like, we've done so many product improvements with Clio Grow, like being able to make your intake forms public, with being able to accept payments for consultations and scheduler, and that goes directly into your LawPay account that's linked to Clio Payments. Yeah. Document electronic signatures in Clio Manage, our integration with Zoom, so you can set up Zoom meetings with just like flipping a switch in Clio Manage. Just simple things like that can reduce friction and clicks and time you spend. That's all we've been focused on, and we're constantly iterating and listening so that the product is responsive and can be part of your success now and in the future.
I'll say that's one thing that's always really impressed me with Clio, and not just meeting with you, but I had a chance to meet with a product developer at the tech show.
When you met with Michelle, that's right.
Yeah. And I had a great conversation, and it wasn't one of those things where I think, you're just making small talk. Like, I felt like she was genuinely interested in how our clients were using Clio.
Definitely. Michelle got her notebook out. She was like, let me talk to Tyler really quick. And she was writing notes. She was ready.
It was great. And I felt like when I left that conversation, I was really energized about it. And we went back to Charleston after that, and started working with one of our clients that we signed, I guess, probably like at the end of last year. We were building out her website, and we started looking at Clio Grow a little bit more seriously in terms of what we could do in terms of lead intake, and how can we capture those leads. And so, like you said, one of the things that is a new feature that we rolled out was payments for consultations. So, that was something that her intake team would have to coordinate, if they were going to set up a consultation with a prospective client. Now, prospective clients can just pay online, set that time. And I think that's where things are going to start to transition towards, I think, in terms of legal consumers and all that stuff. I like to say it's, I do my best shopping at midnight, because my willpower is like down here. So I'm like, okay, like that's when I start, actually checking out the Amazon cart. And so for legal consumers, I think a tool like that provides an opportunity for them to pull the trigger on scheduling a consultation
when their mind's racing at 11 p.m. about this problem they have. Yeah.
Yeah. And with COVID-19, that's happening all the time. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning with 100 different thoughts in my head of, how am I going to tackle these problems for today? And I can imagine that, other people are feeling the same way, especially if it's a business issue, a compliance issue, they may be facing bankruptcy, foreclosure. I think there's just, there's so many opportunities out there for lawyers to meet their clients where they are now, using tools like that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about today is future-proofing your law firm. And so kind of touched on some of those tools that we talked about, but in your mind, what does that mean? And what would that look like in terms of, maybe an initial first step?
Yeah. So, like I said, every person is different, every law firm is different, your client base is different. And the only way for you to future proof your law firm, I think big first step is becoming data driven and understanding where you are and where you want to go. That could be anything from productivity to your revenue benchmarks to the number of potential new clients you want to speak to, upping that conversion rate from those potential new clients, because then that's what's going to turn into more revenue. But in order for it to turn into more revenue, processes need to change and become more efficient so that your time is better spent. And the bottom line is that you need to be looking at your data. So think about how you're doing that now and how that can improve, and determine the KPIs and the key numbers, the key performance indicators that you want to be taking a look at on a regular basis to give yourself ideas on benchmarks, on processes, on tackling your biggest pain points so that you can see that needle move. And I think a good first place to start, and I always tell law firms this, and they're like, oh, everything's a mess. What do I do? And I'm like, what's your biggest pain point? Or what's the one thing that's going to have the biggest impact on your day, on your mental health, on how you work, or on how you serve clients? And that priority is going to be different depending on the law firm and where they are. So definitely evaluate it from a data perspective and a pain point perspective. I also think that the key to future-proofing your law firm is a shift in mindset, and looking at your law firm as a business. Kim Bennett, you know her really well. One of the things that she says about your law firm and your business is that it is, and I'm going to misquote her, Kim, I'm sorry, but it's essentially what's fueling your impact. How are you funding your impact in the world? And if you think about it like that, it shifts things, right? Like what you do has an impact on the world, and the money you make has an impact on your priorities and your quality of life and that of your family. So thinking about it from that perspective requires a mindset shift. And thinking about your overall mental health and happiness is going to have an impact on your business, because we can only pour from a full or overflowing cup. And if you're not all the way there, it's gonna have an impact on the work that you do and how you treat other people and your clients. So designing a business around the life that you want to live and that goal is going to make a huge difference. And it's going to allow you to think really creatively about the services that you offer, how you offer them, when you offer them, the kind of help you're going to seek out. It might make you have some really deep reflection. Tyler and I were talking about this before we started. It's like it's been a time of really deep reflection for a lot of people. And if you think about the quality of life that you want to have, the kind of services you want to deliver, or that dream you've had of doing things a certain way, now's the time to try. Now's the time to try it, because there's room in the world for what it is you have to offer.
Yeah, I love that. And just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, one thing that we've been talking a lot about are how do we stay on track for our quarterly goals and our annual goals in the middle of all of this? And you kind of have to humble yourself and say, okay, what I thought was going to happen in terms of where my business was going to go, that's going to change. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I need to look at how I need to pivot my services to respond to the needs that are going to be coming out of this time. And so I can't speak, for all law firms or even all of our clients, but I can at least speak for our business, which is, we looked really hard at, like you said, the pain points. Where were we falling short in terms of scalability, in terms of delivering the absolute best service that we knew we could deliver to our clients. And it kept coming back to like one or two different services that we offered that were just kind of a grind. And we didn't realize it until COVID-19 happened, but we were constantly having to shift from one jurisdiction to the next, or, one practice area to the next. And every client had a different procedure, or like you said, they weren't sure if they should stay open at all or if they needed to be virtual. And so for us, it was like, that was a time for us to look at our services and say, well, how do we serve all of these lawyers in a powerful way? What's our role here? What's the core mission of our business? And we had a quarterly review about 2 weeks ago, and we looked at the financials, obviously, but then we started looking at some what we call sprint goals. So 6-week sprints. What can we accomplish in 6 weeks to solve this one particular problem? Do we need a technological solution? Is it a process solution? Or do we need to find someone else to help with this? And that's completely revolutionized the way that we've been conducting business, and in terms of not only like internally, but like how we've been reaching out to clients and supporting them. Some of the things that we've accomplished in the last couple of months are things we would never have accomplished at all. I mean, this Zoom meeting is a perfect example. I would never do this if it weren't for COVID-19. And I just enjoy it so much, and being able to share your perspective with people. And so, yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And I think for a lot of lawyers, when they think about future proofing, when they think about innovation, they automatically jump to like a SaaS product or a technological solution. And like you said, a lot of times it comes down to just envisioning what you want your life to look like so you don't have that burnout, what you want your business to look like so you actually provide the value that you set out to provide. And I think that, looking at those things, looking at those pain points, looking at those processes, and then finding the right tools to help you with that, that's really, kind of the first step in making sure you're securing your law firm against things like this.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like people turning toward like a tech solution and like, oh, okay, this is going to solve the problem. And the simple answer to that is absolutely not. It can, but first it takes you. You have to be the one to identify what's the issue I'm solving for, what's the problem, and what do I think this tech product is going to do to help me do that. The key word is help me do that, not do for me.
Yeah, it's so funny. We have so many.
Still behind the process. You are still behind all the data that goes in there, and it'll do what it needs to do to help you, but it's not going to do it for you.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing Clio gets right in my mind is they've got the technological element of it, right? But then you also have the human side of it. So if you go to ClioCon or you go to any event that Clio is sponsoring, you get that human element, you get that human connection. And to me, that's just so important to remember that you can't hide behind your computer screen and just anticipate new cases to come in, anticipate great reviews from clients. Like you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to, we say, make the law more human. You've got to have that human element to it. And it really depends on you first. I think the biggest mistake that we've seen a lot of attorneys do is spend a lot of money on a technological solution or a lot of time trying to figure out, for example, a drip campaign, with like all these different funnels, but they don't have any way of, intaking those clients, or they don't have a process to support it. They don't have the capacity to support new clients. Or they're expecting to click a few buttons and get cases on demand. And that's just not how it works. And it really does take kind of that internal reflection, like you're saying, to figure out what it is you need. And I love just working through the process and seeing how far I can get without changing anything. Before I get to that friction point, I'm like, okay, that's it. Where, how do I find that solution?
Exactly.
So I wanted to ask you, I'm looking at my notes, in terms of like practice management, what role do you see practice management playing in how law firms are going to do business moving forward?
I think it's going to be critical. So our CEO, when this first happened, he was like, look, the change that was going to happen over the next 10 years is going to be compressed in the next couple of months. We weren't anticipating that this many people would be looking to move to the cloud right now. We were playing the long game in terms of, okay, we're still converting people. People are still warming up to this idea. People are still warming up to automation and how this works. So that's how we were looking at our research and our marketing for the next couple of years. And the Legal Trends Report was revealing a lot of that. Mm-hmm. But now we're under this pressure cooker of not having the convenience of meeting in person like we used to, of not being able to rely on paper files because it's harder to collaborate, with people being in a home environment where there are, 3 or 4 or 5 people and needing a private moment to talk to their lawyer. You've got to adapt new methods of communication. Like all of these different things are happening. Mail is delayed, and then there's like a hazard. Like, do I touch my mail? Do I need to spray my mail down with Lysol? How do I mail a check to my lawyer? How do you mail out your bills to your client? Right? These are things that made people rethink how they were doing things before. Practice management comes in that, especially with a tool like Clio, in that all of the things that you need to do to be able to run your law firm should be centralized. And it's really easy to adopt a bunch of different tech solutions and have them live in their silos. But until they're all within the same ecosystem, you don't understand the impact that using all of these things is having on your business. But you've got to go to a bunch of different places to get a clear idea of what happened in a matter. Clio consolidates all of that. So I really do think that practice management gives us an advantage of being able to see the impact of the work that we're doing. Everything that you're doing in that system is logged, and then it becomes available in a report for you. You can see the number of open matters that you have at any time. You can see the number of new cases that came in for step-parent adoption in a given month. You can see, the number of traffic cases that you didn't get in a certain month compared to the year before. You're able to start to see trends. You're able to see whether a marketing campaign was effective or not based on the number of clients that you got or how it converted. So this kind of jargon is going to become so much more familiar to you and a bigger part of how you run your business, all because you're starting to use a system of management and looking at reports that help to make sense of all this. And I really do think practice management is going to be at the core of that success and how people run their businesses. And with a product like Clio, again, we have the ability to plug in almost any product that you use on a regular basis right into our system. We have over 200 integration partners. So that makes a lot more things possible. Yeah, I really think it's going to be critical.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk briefly about one of my favorite events of the year, which is ClioCon. And I say that because we went to ClioCon last year, and it honestly transformed our entire business. We met so many amazing people. We were open up to so many new ideas. And I've just been encouraging everyone that I've been speaking to over the last year to buy their tickets for this year. So this year it's going to be virtual, and I think that's going to open up the doors for a lot of people who might have either been priced out of it or just weren't able to travel for it. Can you tell us a little bit about what people can expect at this year's ClioCon?
Yeah. So like many conferences, we were faced with a decision, right? Do we cancel it all together or do we go virtual? And for us, the decision was really difficult because ClioCon in person, ask anybody that's ever been, it's the best conference in legal. It's a great mix of fun, really informative content, the best keynote speakers you can ever find. And the social aspect of it is so amazing. You meet like-minded people. The parties are out of this world. So to go from that to just like a regular Zoom webinar format, or thinking of like doing 8 hours a day of webinars, just was not like we couldn't equal that out. So the pact has been made that this is going to be the best conference in legal still, even in a virtual format. And it's not going to be that one-to-one replacement of everything. Like, so that should be kind of wiped from your expectations. But what it is going to be is what you come to expect from the Clio Cloud Conference, which is all of that great content. Seth Godin was announced as our first keynote, and he will still be keynoting, and more keynote announcements to come really soon. But the content is going to be compressed. So it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. October 13th through 16th. And it's also more accessible. So typical Clio Cloud Conference tickets, if you purchase them later in the year, closer to the conference, can be close to $1,500. Plus, depending on the location, you're going to have to buy a plane ticket and get a hotel for a couple of days and all that stuff. So the cost is currently $149, and it's going to be at that price until the end of the month. So if you're interested, you should definitely get your ticket now, because those prices will go up again next month. And you're getting a ton of value for that. You don't have to be a Clio user to attend. This is a conference for people that are interested in shaping the practice of law through their own work. And we talk a lot about legal innovation, and yes, about the Clio product. So if you are interested in upping your game on Clio, this is for you as well. But there's something for everyone. There are people who are not practicing lawyers that come to our conference and get a ton out of it. So yeah, and there will be some social aspects too, but the Clio way. So look forward to those things as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it turns out. I know it's going to be awesome. You know, in terms of a virtual conference, I don't know if you're going to be able to beat it. Keynotes look amazing, and just from what I experienced last year, I could watch them on my computer and still get just as much out of them. You know, and in terms of just being opened up to new ideas, like you said, you don't have to be a Clio user. You can be a legal educator. You can be a vendor in the space. Just learning about what other tools are on the market, what people are doing with those tools, how people are innovating. I think it's just a great opportunity to experience that. And so I'm excited for it, and we'll be sure to share that information in the registration link in the notes of the show.
Awesome. Yeah, don't want to miss this, guys. Really, whether you're a Clio customer or not, there's definitely a lot you can get out of it, and you can't beat this price and the accessibility of it right now. I will say that being someone that goes to conferences all the time, before all this, I was traveling like every week, every other week. And I've seen a lot of bar associations and other legal organizations have to pivot completely and either cancel or take their conferences virtual. So we're not alone here. But I do think that in our new normal, whatever that is and whenever that happens, there will be some sort of hybrid model that we're going to have to take on for interactions in person. We don't know what's going to happen, but I do think that people are realizing that it's great to be able to access information on your own terms and not have to be in a physical location to do that. And that access to that information shouldn't just be for the people that are privileged enough to be able to do that. So I anticipate that a lot more conferences are going to either continue to be virtual or have some sort of hybrid aspect where they go back to an element of in-person, but having people who want to experience that from wherever they are, giving them access to that as well, to that experience.
Excellent. Well, Nefra, I really appreciate you coming on here today and talking with me. I really hope that everyone who's watching this got at least something out of this that they can take back to their law firms and improve their firms, whether that's trying out Clio, doing is there a free trial, Nefra, for
There is a
Clio?
free trial
Okay.
available, and because of our affinity programs, most state bars, if you belong to them, will have a 10% discount associated. So make sure to look into that as well.
Excellent. Yeah, so give it a shot if you haven't already. If you are using Clio and you are looking for a way to implement that in a more powerful way through like your website or anything like that, we're always happy to help with that as well. We have a few clients that we've been setting up their Clio Grow platform and helping them with that. So if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to me. Nefra, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to do that?
You can email me at nefra.macdonald@clio.com, or I'm on Twitter at Nefra_Ann.
Excellent. Great. Well, thanks so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Tyler.